So I'm doing a new reading vlog. I'm going to continue on with the Mallory Anderson series for Johanna Lindsey. Now I'm on to book 4, 5, and 6. Now I finished off book 4. Now this one here, I ended up reading, this is The Magic of You. So we got the characters of Amy, Mallory, and Warren Anderson. I will say, like, I gave this one a 3. Mainly because the heroine was the most one of the most annoying heroines I've ever come across. It's just desperation at this point. You know, like, to me, it's like desperation is a stinky cologne. She had it all over her. She stank of desperation. I'm not really a big fan of heroines like that. I don't want heroes like that either, you know? It's just like, it's like simp behavior, you know? Yeah, I was not a fan of her. So we've got the characters Amy, Mallory, and Warren Anderson. Now she's like, I don't think she was the sister. She was like a cousin or something of like the Mallorys. I don't think she was a sister. If she was, I don't remember. So Amy Mallory has just come out into society and she wants to marry one of the Anderson brothers. Warren Anderson is 36 and Amy is barely 18. Like, she's 17 when she kind of like lets him know like she wants him to, you know, bone her. And, you know, he's rightfully like scandalized, like, you're too young for me, you know? And I'm like, yeah, dude. Yeah, she's too young for you. And too immature. She was too immature for me. So Amy has been staying at the home of James Mallory and Georgina because Georgie is about to give birth. The Anderson brothers show up right when Georgie goes into labor. So Warren has seen Amy before and thought she was beautiful, but he thinks she's too young and he's jaded from his last relationship that broke his heart. Oh man. His fiance there did his ass dirty. She did him fucking dirty. One day, Amy confronts Warren because he was being a grouchy jerk to James. Yeah, James and Warren do not like each other. Like, Warren is like the eldest, I think. You think he's like either the eldest or the second eldest. And he does not like James, you know, at all. It was very much like them two, like, bickering with each other like a bunch of catty bitches, you know. I was like, come on, man. So she told Warren how she wanted him and wanted to marry him. I said, honestly, I don't know why he's a grouchy jerk with a stick shoved up his arse. So I said he tries to scare her away by threatening to kiss her. And they kiss and it's a shock to him. He talks with Georgie and the discussion of Amy comes up. He finds out that she's 17 when she told him before, you know, they kissed that she's 18. So that was a shock to him. That kind of angered him that she already lied to him. So Georgie tells him that Amy will be 18 in 2 weeks. So Amy finds out why Warren is so jaded. So he fell in love with a woman named Marianne and they had sex. She decided to marry someone else and she was pregnant. He tried to claim the child, but Marianne and her husband said that they would claim Warren was lying. So he loved children, so that's why it was especially heartbreaking for him. That he won't be able to raise his own child. I said, what an awful cunt that woman was. So 3 years ago, his son Samuel died, or the son he thought was his, you know, died. So he was obviously heartbroken about it because he wanted to be a dad. He liked children. You know, he wanted to be a father and have children. So it was just sad that, you know, he basically wanted to be with her, but she was like, nope, I'm going to be with him. And then there was like this whole other thing of like, you find out later on why, you know, she decided to go with the dude and everything. And I'm just like, really? Really? Okay. Amy keeps pursuing him all throughout the motherfucking book. All throughout the book, she constantly pursues him. He keeps pushing her away and telling her, I'm too old for you. No, we can't be together, you know, and she keeps pursuing him. He thinks that she is playing games with him and has probably tried it with other men. Like, especially with her, like, you know, with her, like, keep pushing it, he thinks, like, you know, she's been with other men and she's played games with other men and thinks that she's just playing games with him, you know, because he's like I said, he's so jaded from his last relationship. And I'm like, can you blame the guy, you know? Amy follows Warren to a brothel, and he's angry because he wants to, you know, release some tension, and she's following his ass around, you know? She doesn't want him to have sex with other women, which I can completely understand, because what he wants, she can give him, you know, that's basically what she tells him, like, I can give you what you want, you know? He takes her out of there, but she gets mad because he keeps walking too fast. So she decides to go the other way, and Warren chases after her. She runs into a patron of the brothel, and Warren punches him in the face because, you know, she's near the brothel and he thinks that she's the lady of the night, you know? I mean, I don't blame the guy, you know? So they end up arguing and then start kissing again, and I'm just like, dude, you are too old for these games, man. And she keeps playing them. She keeps playing them. She tells him where the carriage is, you know, that she hired. She tries to get Warren to make love to her in the carriage. She realizes that they're going to be robbed. And I said, after the robbery, Warren is so mad, he threatens Amy with a switch, like he's going to smack her in the ass with this, you know, whatever it is. And she runs, he catches up to her, and they fall to the ground. They start making out. A coach shows up. They head on home. I said, Amy gets caught by Jeremy. Jeremy is James's son. That one was the one that James had. Obviously, it was his bastard child. You know, he wasn't married to the woman when he knocked her up, obviously. He tells her that his father will never accept her being with Warren because James cannot stand Warren. So Georgie invites her brother Warren over to stay at her home. When their other brothers leave the Albany Inn, they're all staying at this inn. So she doesn't want him to be lonely. Warren says no, and I'm like, I don't, can you blame him? Because this woman is like trying to climb him like a tree. Would I want to be in the same vicinity as this woman who's trying to climb me like a tree? No, I would not. No, I would not. I'm going to stay far away from her. So, at a ball, James and Anthony get Warren alone because they think Warren has designs on Amy. So Warren tells them that Amy has been pursuing him and he's been trying to avoid her. Amy comes in the room and explains that she wants to marry him. Warren thinks that she wants to marry him so quickly because he thinks that she's pregnant with another man's baby. You know, hence why I'm like, why are you trying to marry me so fast, you know? So Warren continues to ignore Amy. So she decides to look for him at the Albany Inn at 1 a.m. in the morning. And I'm like, girl, why are you going to this place in the morning? Do you have no sense of self-preservation? Okay? She knocks at the door and Asian men come out of the rooms and one pulls her in the room that was supposed to be Warren's. They tell her that Warren has something of theirs. It's like this, I think it's like one of those like expensive, like Japanese or Chinese like vases and stuff like that. Like the, obviously there were like royal, you know, like vases and things like that. Extremely like expensive. So they tell her that Warren has something of theirs. She's kidnapped and stuffed into a trunk and taken to the shipping yard. So Georgie and James show up at Warren's room at a different inn, and she tells him that Amy is missing. Warren knows that the Asian group are at the Albany Inn because that's why he left, because he saw that they were there. Warren and James show up to the inn and talk to the Asian group. They want their vase back, or vase, whatever you call it, vase. I say vase, but it could be vase or whatever. Warren and Amy are forced on a ship to head to America. James decides to get Warren's crew ready to chase after them. So Warren's room on the ship is next to Amy's, but he continues to ignore her. After 2 weeks, Amy decides to put matters into her own hands. She threatens to choke on her food, so the Asian man watching her decides to put Amy into Warren's room. Finally, Warren gives in to Amy. You know, I said after they have sex, he tells her that he still won't marry her. And I'm like, what? A storm causes the captain to be knocked out, so Warren has to steer the ship. They make it to port. Warren handles the Asian crew and they head out. He basically, settles whatever it is. Her family finds him and her together in bed. He still says that he won't marry her. Amy decides that she won't pursue him anymore, so she leaves with her family. And I'm like, yeah, lady, when are you going to get the hint? He slept with you multiple times on the ship, keeps telling you he doesn't want to marry you, and it's like, get the fucking hint in your head, Amy decides she won't pursue him anymore, so she leaves with her family. Warren misses her, and he runs into Marianne. Toward the end. This is toward the end. And who hated, who he hate, and blah, 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 and who hated Warren. He decides to pursue Amy. The guy who was Marianne's husband, she's not married to him anymore. He decides that he's going to pursue Amy to get back at Warren. And I'm just like, dude, why do you have such a hard-on to get back at Warren? For what? For what? You're dumb. You're dumb. Warren goes back to England to protect Amy. And then Warren beats Stephen up and he finally asks her to marry him. That's what I didn't like. I said, Amy was beyond annoying and how desperate she looked when she kept chasing Warren. It felt creepy. As if, I said, and if the shoe was on the other foot, I could see women thinking Warren was a creepy stalker. I said, I felt like Warren took forever to have any feelings for Amy. But I also understood because she was so annoying and pushing. I said, I just didn't feel the love between them. That's basically what it was. I didn't feel the love between these characters. It's like, for most of the damn book, she's the one that keeps pursuing it and he keeps pushing her away, like she's an annoying little ant, and I'm just like, and then in his head, he's like, oh, well, he is attracted to her. And I'm like, dude, she's pursuing you. She keeps pursuing you. She clearly likes you. She clearly wants to be with you. So why are you giving her the runaround? Why? You want to be married one day. You want to have children. Wouldn't she be the perfect person to have children with? The one that keeps pursuing you. And then with her, this constant pursuing him, dogging him every day, being annoying. And I'm like, oh my God, girl, have some self-fucking respect for yourself. Oh, she was so annoying. This is why I ended up giving it a 3, just to be nice. I honestly probably would have gave it a 2, And it just tells like how different, how different readers are. Like for me, I didn't like either one of the characters. They were so annoying to me. But then, this does get like a lot of good reviews. There were people who actually really liked this book. So it just shows like the reader base, like what doesn't work for me is going to work for someone else. Maybe you would like this book better. So that was that book. So I'm going to go into Say You Love Me, is the next book here. So I got this one here, and then it has a step back. So that's pretty. I like that one. It's a pretty step back. So this one here has a thing over the damn stickers over here. So it says, left penniless after her parents' deaths, Kelsey must now take responsibility for the well-being of her younger sister, Jean. But when circumstance and human frailty conspire to leave them homeless as well, Kelsey is forced to resort to drastic measures. Only by allowing herself to be sold at auction can she rescue her sister's future, and so Kelsey enters the infamous House of Eros, resigned to becoming the plaything of some well-heeled gentleman. Lord Derek Mallory, he was in the previous book in there. Lord Derek Mallory is the highest bidder for Kelsey's charms, a dashing rakehell from a family of charming London rogues who draws the sensuous dark-haired maiden into a world of unparalleled pleasures and dangerous rivalries. But Kelsey must scrupulously guard the secret of her high-born past, even as her grace, wit, spirit, and beauty entice her new master to renounce his scandalous ways and take a chance on true love, the most perilous and rewarding gamble of all. So this one sounds pretty good. I'm hoping I'll like it, because so far, I will say, most of these are kind of like, you know, okay. They're okay books, but I'm looking for, like, you know, better. I'll just say that. Better. So I'm just hoping that he's not a dick, you know, for the fact that she's basically gotta sell herself to save her sister. So I'm gonna delve into that one, that audiobook, because that's available. And then after that one, I'm gonna delve into this one here that's called The Present. And this one I think is like a Christmas one. So it's getting that time of year anyway. So this one here says it's the Mallory family gathers, obviously during Christmas time. And this one has the Marquess or Marquis. I think it's the Marquis, Christopher Mallory. There's Marquess and Marquis. So yeah, I believe that's Marquis. Christopher Mallory, and a dark gypsy beauty named Anastasia. Obviously, there are people who don't like the term gypsy. I think, what's the term now? It's like Romany or something, I think. I think that's what it is. I think it's Romany. But I think there's people who get kind of offended with the term gypsy. So yeah, she wants to save herself from a prearranged marriage to a brute. Okay. So that's what she basically does. She sets her sights on Christopher to try to get him to marry her, so that way she doesn't have to marry this brute, whoever he is. And yeah, it's during the holidays, so I'll read that one there, and that'll be my 3 that I talk about for this vlog. I'm going to continue on with the Mallory series and finish off. I think there's like 12 books in this series. So there's like going to be 3 more after this, and then there'll be on like another 3, and then that'll be done. Because we're on books 4, 5, and 6 right now. So right now I'd say, I don't know if I'm a huge fan of Johanna Lindsey. I'll just say that. I'm not, like, a lot of her books tend to be very kind of like over the top, and I'd say if you like over the top, then this author would work for you. Like, there's some people who don't like Julia Quinn because she's like, some of her humor is not, you know, some people don't like her humor. And of course, you know, there's going to be people who don't like Lisa Kleypas. They don't understand the appeal. So I think we all have pretty much, you like this one but you don't like this one. Like, I'm not a big fan of Eloise James. I don't know why. I don't really care for her. I tried getting into her, you know, popular series, but it just, you know. So I think some authors obviously work for me and some don't, you know. So yeah, I'll go and update you all later when I get done with Say You Love Me and see how I like that, if I do or not. But I will say I'm glad that I have all of these on Audible, so I can kind of like, you know, on audiobooks, so I can kind of get through them like really quick. And yeah, I think I'm pretty much going to be donating like a lot of my Johanna Lindsey. There's a few that I like the covers of. I'm not sure if I want to read them or if I just want to keep them kind of like as a collection for me. But some books, you know, like, I love the covers, but the story inside, not so much, you know? So that's the unfortunate thing, is some of the stories I'm not really a huge fan of. So yeah, I will update you all later, you know, when I finish that one, and I'll see you later. Okay, everybody, update. So I finished off Say You Love Me. I would say, like, I like this one better than some of the other books. Like, I feel like Johanna Lindsey obviously had to kind of like find her stride and everything. Like I feel like her earlier books were kind of like not as good, and she got better, you know, as time progressed. So this one here has it to where it's Kelsey Langton and Lord Derek Mallory. So Kelsey is left penniless after her parents' deaths. These were some weird parental deaths, I'll just say that. Like, you end up finding out in the book, her mother accidentally shot her father and he died. And then she had backed up because she was so distraught that she actually killed her husband, and she actually fell out the window. And I'm like, what are the chances? That's some like slapstick like stuff. And I was like, really? That's how their mother died? Okay. I thought that was kind of weird. So she and her sister Jean are living with their Aunt Elizabeth when her aunt and uncle's home gets confiscated, or gets told that it's going to get confiscated. You know, by the uncle. Will be, yeah. Confiscated. Kelsey and Jean are about to be homeless, so Kelsey decides to sell herself at the house of Eros as a rich man's mistress. Now it's her uncle who had said that they'll be penniless, you know, and all that stuff. So he basically tells her like, oh, he knew somebody who, you know, the daughter went and sold herself to go and save the family. And it's like, why would you fucking tell her that, dude? Yeah. So Derek Mallory had no intention of getting, you know, to get another mistress. But then he sees a man he has punched in the face bidding on the poor young lady. So Derek decides to bid on her as well, and he wins because he knows like the guy who's trying to bid on her, his name is David, and he's not a good man. Like toward the almost ending of the book, you could see exactly how fucked up this guy is. Yeah, he's not all there. So that night, Derek leaves her at one of his homes, and Kelsey tells the staff that she had a mishap and Derek came along to help her. She doesn't want to say that she's his mistress. Then Derek arrives and takes her to a cottage on his estate that she can live at. He has to leave abruptly and unfortunately didn't leave her any food. She had a basket of food from his housekeeper, but by the next day the food is gone. She tries to get some help at Derek's estate, but they don't know her, so she has no choice but to head into the village and see if she can sell a watch she had from her mother and a dress. She ends up getting hired to sew some dresses for the seamstress at the village. Meanwhile, Derek goes from his father's estate into London so he can go to his cousin Amy's wedding. Finally, Derek tells his driver to fetch Kelsey. When she comes to the townhouse, she has a fever and is sick from walking to the village every morning in cold weather. Derek comes to the townhouse and she confronts him about him leaving her for days without any food. He said someone was supposed to leave her some food. Once the misunderstanding is over. God, I didn't know how to do any of that stuff. Misunderstanding is over. Derek goes about making Kelsey his mistress. So Kelsey's first time with Derek isn't great. Because he didn't believe that she was a virgin. Then he realizes that she was a virgin, so he makes it up to her. Then Derek proceeds to take her out on outings. Kelsey accidentally meets Derek's relatives, and he ends up telling the males that she is his mistress. So Derek and Kelsey get comfortable and start to feel things about each other when they run into the man who tried to buy Kelsey. He says he will get her soon enough once Derek is done with her. The man, David Ashford, hurts women. I'd say he tortures women. That's what he does. He tortures them. You know, he basically, like, he grapes them. He uses a knife on them. He uses whips, you know, things like that. So yeah, he's not a good man. Kelsey accidentally runs into her Aunt Elizabeth and her sister Jean. She made up some excuse about Kelsey looking after her friend. As Kelsey leaves the store, she accidentally runs into Ashford, and he pushes her into his carriage. He takes her to a home, and in the basement, Kelsey realizes that there are cells, and she gets pushed into one. She manages to escape, and she hides in the house. He finds her in the attic, and she shoves him down the stairs, and I'm like, good for you, girl. Good for you. You were fighting back. She ends up getting caught by the caretaker. So James had hired his servants, they're ex-pirates, to follow her. So one of them heads back to James's house and tells James, you know, what's going on. You know, what's happening. That she was basically, you know, taken by that friggin' dude. So Derek shows up, and him and James head to Ashford's house. The caretaker knocks out the men who followed Kelsey. She gets pushed back into the room, and she gets tied up. She knows exactly what Ashford does with the women, because Derek ended up telling her, like, the things that he saw, that he witnessed. That's why he ended up, like, beating the crap out of him the first time, because he saw him doing it to, I think it was either a maid or it was another woman. And he goes after, like, he mostly goes after women who, they don't have any family, like fellow other prostitutes or other women, like, kind of like on the street and stuff like that. So he goes after, like, basically the most vulnerable. Piece of shit. So, James, Derek, and Anthony show up to the house. And rescue her and the other women. And James allows the women to do things to David as payback. Yeah. Thanks, James. David Ashford ends up in Bedlam because he is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. He's not all there. He's not all there. So once Kelsey is healed up, Derek asks her to marry him. She refuses him because she didn't want Derek's family to deal with the shame. Derek's family gets involved. Then Kelsey's aunt Elizabeth shows up telling them about her family lineage. Kelsey doesn't know that her grandfather was a duke. So once Kelsey bears a son, her son will inherit the dukedom title. So once Derek tells Kelsey that he loves her, she finally relents, and, you know, she says that she'll marry him. I'd say, like, the things that kind of annoyed me in here was that for most, well, up until the end, he has no idea that she is, like, a titled woman. You know, like, she goes and tells him, like, this porky pie of, like, oh, well, her mother was a governess, so, you know, she taught her daughter all these things, you know, and the woman who was teaching her kids, you know, allowed it. And I was like, sure. Yeah, I'm like, no. That was kind of like a weak excuse for, like, her having, like, her vocabulary being, like, more on the upper crust than, you know, like, more of, like, hello, governor kind of thing, you know, like, it's not like that Cockney, you know, like, you could tell with, like, maybe, like, the servant's speech is not very good, or, you know, other people in the lower classes, their vocabulary and the way they speak is going to be different than people in the upper crust and all that stuff. So, I was kind of like, you believe that, dude? I was just like, I felt like Derek was a bit like, ding, 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 you know, kind of like not all there. Definitely believed her too easily. And I was like, dude, it's like, you believe that? Okay. But I'm like, I didn't have any problems with him. Like I said, I felt like he was kind of dim-witted. And like, you know, she was like, I liked her. I will say I liked her, but I felt like she was a little stubborn toward the end, you know, where I'm like, girl, he's asking you to marry him, you know? And I'm like, just say yes. Why do you keep saying no? And I'm like, oh, just like, ugh. And then Derek's own father had like secrets of his own. You end up finding out that Derek is a biblo, and James, or not James, his father's Jason. It was Jason. Jason, his father was having an affair with one of the women who worked, on his estate that he's known since they were very young, and his wife that he was married to, he never even had sex with his wife. They were like married for like 18 years or so, but they never had sex because she was always going to bath because she was very frail or pretended to be frail. Meanwhile, his wife comes back and she's like, I don't want to be married to you anymore. I found someone else and I want to be married to him. And so Jason basically, grants the divorce because she basically kind of like blackmails him and says, oh, well, I'll, tell everyone that, Derek's a biblo and all that stuff. So it's like, he's very much stuck in that whole propriety thing. And it's like, man, you're the Mallorys. You're not all like, up and up and shit. So to me, I was like, you're kind of stuck in the old ways, dude. So there was that going on, and I was like, really? And I'm like, come on, dude. Yeah. But I did like the fact that they kind of like did open up like toward the end and everything like that. So I thought that was good. So I appreciated that. So I'd give it like a 4. I thought it was decent. But yeah, I felt like he was a bit dim-witted because I'm like, the things that she had to do, while he was gone. And then he was gone for like how many days? And I was like, what the hell, man? Yeah. And then it's like, he kind of like exposes her too much. And I was like, dude. And I'm like, she's your mistress. You'd think he'd be a little bit more secretive. And he's constantly taking her out places. So I'm like, I was like, what the hell, man? I'm like, you want your family to not know, but then you constantly take her out places. And I'm like, people are gonna see, man. They're gonna see. So I just thought that was funny. And I'm like I said, I felt like he was kind of dim-witted. I'm like, how do you not know, man? So yeah, I just thought it was funny. But I thought it was, a decent book. And, that's why I'm like, oh, I'll give it a 4. It was decent. And then the next book I'm going to get delving into, sorry, I'm tired, is The Present, which is a Christmas one. It's outside. I'll show you it after when I'm done with it. It's only like, the audiobook's only like 3 hours and something. So I'm like, okay, I can get through that one quick. That'll be easy. I'll get through that one. And then that'll be it for this vlog here. But I'd say like, as it's progressed, it's gotten better. Like I said, I felt like this book was better, than the last one I read, where I was like, I had issues with like the heroine. She was like way too fucking clingy. So, but yeah, I'd say I like Kelsey for the most part. I thought she was like very strong, willing to like sacrifice herself to like save her family, even though you end up finding out like at the end that she didn't really need to do that. Like if she would have talked to her like aunt, she would have been told like her aunt like has money, her aunt has money and the husband had no idea, and so it's like, smart lady. I'm like, smart lady, good for you, girl, good for you. So yeah, it was decent, it was pretty good. But like I said, there was a few issues where I was like, but other than that, I had a good time listening to it. So I'm gonna delve on to The Present, and then when I'm done with that, that'll be it for this vlog. So yeah, I will update you all later. Okay, so I am in another bathroom. We have 2 bathrooms in our apartment, and so this is the other bathroom. We just recently like fixed it up, and we got our manager in our apartment complex to repaint the walls and fix up the tub, and they got rid of like our doors in our bathroom because they were like those sliding glass doors, and after a while the sliding glass doors, they get kind of funky no matter how much you go and scrub them. So they're like, okay, we're gonna take them out and we're gonna go and like redo this. And so they took out the doors and we put in like a curtain, so it makes the bathroom look better. I never wanted to film in this bathroom because it looked dingy and it always looked dirty. No matter how much I scrubbed, it always looked dirty. So we have a different fan in this bathroom because my other fan above, if I go and I turn the lights on like that, you could hear the fan. And so I don't usually like film in here, but I put a nightlight in, so it kind of helps. So I finished off this one here, and it kind of has two different timelines. So you got like the current timeline of the Andersons. They're all getting together at Christmas time for, obviously Christmas, and they're over at Jason's house. Jason is Derek's father. He was in the previous book, and there was stuff that went on with Jason and Molly. Molly's been kind of like his mistress for like how many years, and so Jason's wife finally wanted a divorce in the last book, and so now, like, he's basically had it to where he wanted to marry Molly because he's loved Molly since he was like in his early 20s. And so he's finally like, hey, I want to marry you. I don't care, squeaky floors. I don't care if the people around us don't care. He's like, I don't want to hide it anymore. So the present group of Mallorys and Andersons make it for Christmas. Molly and Jason have more of their story in this, and how Molly keeps refusing to marry Jason because she doesn't want to see any more scandal in the family. Johanna is mad at James for some reason. The family all open this mysterious gift, and it ends up being an old journal. The family decide to read it. Then the story jumps into the past, where a half gypsy woman with black hair and blue eyes, that's what she's named in the book. I said gypsy women. I said that's what she's named in the book. I said now they're called Romany because I guess gypsies, I guess a derogatory term. So I guess they prefer to be called Romany. And so she has some type of instinct for future events, probably like an ESP. She doesn't want to marry this brute of a man who is violent. Don't blame her. So she sees Christopher Mallory one night at her camp with her family. He tells her family to leave his property. She convinces him to sit down with her. He wants her for his mistress, and she tells him she needs marriage. So she dances and he gets drunk. So the next morning he wakes up with a hangover and with Anastasia in his bed. He makes love to her and she's a virgin, and afterwards he still thinks that she will be his mistress. He tells this to his friends in front of her, and it upsets her, and she leaves and goes back in the woods. When she gets back to camp, the brute who wanted to marry her smacks her in the face. Her grandmother tells the brute and his father that he will never touch Anastasia again or she will curse them. Her grandmother passes away, and an Englishman named Lord William decides to take Anastasia to London to give her a season, but really to make Christopher jealous enough to admit that she's his wife. Like, I guess the night before they had gotten married. I don't know if it's technically illegal, but they had gotten married, and then he doesn't want to admit that that he would marry her because of like his status and her status are different and all that stuff. And so she kind of gets mad at that, and she leaves, and she's like, well, I don't want to be your mistress. And so Lord William, I think, was kind of like sort of involved with her grandmother because the man is like in his 70s. So I'm assuming like he liked her grandmother, and then the grandmother had passed away, and he had swore to her grandmother that, he would like, I'll take care of her, we'll have, I'll pretend she's like my niece and stuff like that. And so, meanwhile, Christopher went back to the gypsy camp, and he sees the grave and figures it out that it was Anastasia's grandmother. He's mad she's gone, but as the weeks go by, all he can think about is her. And he's, melancholy, like he's sad. He doesn't, he realized that she kind of brought like this happiness to his life that he never thought that he would feel. And so without her, he kind of feels like he did before, And so his friends try to cheer him up by taking him out. He hears about a woman named Anna, who is the niece of Lord William. Christopher goes and sees that Anna is Anastasia. He goes to her and claims she's his wife in front of other men and gets her alone to her room. He tells her that he wants to have her as his wife, so they go back to his estate in the country, and they kind of like go with their marriage there. And then she basically kind of tells him like, let's start this journal. There's something, she goes, I'm kind of feeling something that one of our ancestors, one of our children's children will have some kind of issue, and this journal is going to help them. And so it basically, it was for like Jason and Molly to, kind of like figure out their issues. And so the story ends and it goes back to the present time. And so Jason listened to the whole story and it makes him think. So James talks with his wife and they settle whatever issue there was. Jason joins Molly in bed and talks to her about the story. He tells her to read it, and then he basically convinces her to marry him. So she's finally like, okay, I'll marry you, but don't tell other people. We'll just keep it between the family that we're married. And so he's like, fine. He goes, fine, we'll do that. So that was basically the story. And I'm like, it was okay. I give it like a 3.5. It was fine. I will say, like, I kind of tuned out a little bit. I had to go back. I ended up having to go back to the story a little bit and listen to those chapters again because I started to kind of like tune out. And so I was like, okay, I don't know what the heck that was. Maybe because it's the two different timelines. So you got like the Mallory clan, present day, and then it goes into the past and kind of tells this quick little story of like how Christopher and Anastasia, which were like Jason's, I think, grandparents, how they got together. And so it was a quick story. Like it was quick, like, he meets her, he wants her as a mistress, he gets drunk, realizes that he ends up marrying her. The next day, like, he kind of like has sex with her. And then it was like maybe like a few weeks later that he's already like telling her he wants to marry her and be with him. So really their courtship was within like a few weeks, and then it was like, boom, they're married and in the country and all that stuff. So it was very quick, like, very quick relationship for them. So it was fine, it wouldn't be something I keep though. So far, like none of the Johanna and Lindsey books I'm willing to like keep and want to, reread. No, none of them are interesting me enough to where I want to keep them and reread them. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this one here. I'll continue on with the Mallory series. We've got, the next one is, I believe, Jeremy. Jeremy's been like kind of like all throughout the series, so now it's going to be him. I think he's on a boat. I think he's on a ship again. So I think he's on a ship, and I think the character is like a girl. She's dressed as a boy, and so I'm like, that kind of fits because that's basically what happened with his father, with James and Georgiana. Georgiana, was pretending to be a boy, and so I'm like, that kind of fits, with like, Jeremy, being attracted to a girl that looks like a boy, dressed as a boy. So yeah, we'll see when that happens when I delve into that one on the next vlog. But yeah, I think it's like that one. I think it's called Loving Scoundrel, and then we got 2 other ones after that, and then I'll do another vlog after that. That'll be the last 3, and then that'll be it for like the Mallory Anderson series. So that's gonna be it for that. I would say, like, if you want me to read more of like the same authors, like if it's like, oh, like read 3 of the same books with this author, read the same books with that author, I do have like Sabrina Jeffries that I need to get through. I have to get through some more Sabrina Jeffries. I haven't read her in a little while. I have a whole bunch of like Lorraine Heath, so you want me to delve into more Lorraine Heath, I could do that. There's like how many other authors that I have that I need to delve into. So I'm going to continue on with like the historicals. I like doing the historicals for vlogs, but eventually like I'll run out. I'll run out of my historicals. But yeah, I think I'll just stick to like my historicals, and if I can find them on audiobook, that will help. I can get through it quicker. Otherwise, ones that I don't find on audio, I'll just go and I'll just, you know, physically read them. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video here. Have yourselves a good day. Take care of yourselves, be kind to each other, and I'll see you all on the next video. All right.